So a movie review, and not gangster movie related. It feels like ages since I've done one of these, and I'm sure a lot of people might find it weird that I'm reviewing the new Halloween movie, but you might be surprised to learn that I'm a huge fan of the Halloween series, even though there's pretty much just one classic movie followed by an ocean of mediocrity. I even did a half-hour video looking at all the films in the franchise, which I've linked in the corner, and I also reviewed the 2018 soft reboot, which I was a big fan of. I thought the movie did really well. It felt like a true spiritual successor to Carpenter's original. There were so many positives with the film. However, one key attribute of the film was that it played it very safe in regards to so many controversial aspects of the Halloween movies. For example, the whole thing with Michael being someone with no apparent motive, who does not have specific targets in the original film and just happens to come across Laurie Strode in the original movie. Halloween 2 obviously infamously made Laurie Michael's sister, something I thought was really poo, but it gave Jamie Lee Curtis a reason to remain integral to the story and have Michael come after her. So how did the 2018 one keep Laurie important to the plot when the film ignores the sister thing? Well, there's some random mad doctor who kidnaps Michael Myers and delivers him to Laurie's doorstep to see what happens. And instead of him being obsessed with her, she's obsessed with him. But it's never established whether Michael actually went for Laurie or she just was one of many potential prey. Like I said, playing it safe. With this new one, I predicted that it would not be as good as the 2018 predecessor in terms of the plot because rather than play it safe, like say Star Wars The Force Awakens, it would have to commit to a certain narrative, bring something new to the table like The Last Jedi, and as such, it was going to piss people off. So I figured the filmmakers would overcompensate this by doubling down on the gore and kill count, and that's pretty much what happened. Halloween Kills is a gory follow-up to Halloween 2018 that ups the violence but is a huge downgrade over the film it follows. I watched it knowing full well what critics and fans thought of it, so I went in with really low expectations, and as a result, I thought it was alright. In the grand scheme of things, taking into account the entire Halloween franchise, it isn't the worst movie in the series, but when you consider it's the same team from the 2018 film, you can't help but feel not as much effort was put into this one, and they felt content to making a standard run-of-the-mill slasher flick. Much like the original Halloween 2, the night's events lead Laurie to spend time in the hospital, except in this film, Jamie Lee Curtis is hardly in the film, and she spends the entire duration of the movie, aside from her opening, in the hospital, making weird philosophical exposition-heavy speeches. There is literally no point to her character in this movie. She's a fifth wheel whose best moments have seemingly been removed or saved for the film's sequel, Halloween Ends. But anyway, firefighters arrive at the house that is burning Michael from the end of the last film, which is actually a really cool way of bringing back the villain after you think you've got him, as every slasher flick does. You know, they inadvertently end up saving the killer, as was suggested by the teaser of the film when Laurie is screaming at the firefighters, "Let it burn! Let it burn!" But it doesn't actually work out that they put out the fire and this saves Michael in the film. He just kind of bulldozes his way through the inflamed house and engages in a brawl outside the house with the firefighters. This 60-something guy easily mowing down a fire team full of guys in their prime. And it sets a precedent for the rest of the film because this really is a movie where Michael is an unstoppable killing machine who can teleport wherever he wants. He was always supposed to be the embodiment of evil. There was always the suggestion that he was something more than a man, something supernatural, and that's one of the biggest talking points about the ending of the original film. But this movie throws all of the nuance out of the window, and the suggestion is replaced by affirmation that Michael is indeed a supernatural entity, and it doesn't matter how much damage he takes, he'll get up and walk it off. And when you consider that the characters in this film are among some of the dumbest ever to grace horror cinema, you end up actually rooting for Michael Myers instead of his victims, and you wait patiently for the boring scenes of people talking to each other to be over, so we can get to Michael gouging someone's eye out, or kicking a door against an armed woman so she comically shoots herself. Even Michael stared at her for a few seconds after that, like he's thinking, whoa, that actually worked? But there's a sad realization when watching the movie, because with the things I just mentioned, you realize you're watching a Friday the 13th movie. A brainless, schlocky slasher where the unkillable villain takes out a couple of idiots scene after scene, except in this film, Jason Voorhees is wearing a Michael Myers mask. And I think it's a bit sad that the movie is content with being just another one of the countless 80s slasher flicks, because there was potential for more. Especially with the main plot of having the town unite and turn against Michael. But they're so hilariously inept that it becomes a comedy show. That scene where they go after a mentally disabled bald little dude who looks like a drunk Danny DeVito and waltzed into the hospital saying help, it was so funny. They spent 10 minutes chasing him around the hospital while the real Michael Myers is chilling in his home. And I'm not going to list out all these stupid decisions made by characters because it really is a lot. Like the mob acknowledging that there's strength in numbers, but people constantly going off into smaller groups, and on top of that, going alone. With one mind-boggling scene where a guy says he will face Michael alone, and unsurprisingly, he ends up a bloody corpse in the attic 2 minutes later. The pseudo-flashbacks to 1978 were well done. They looked great, but they really didn't serve a purpose in the film, aside to give importance to a random character in the modern time period, and, I suspect, to pad out the runtime. Positives? The kills were good, very bloody. I liked the way Michael looked, the way he moved. The actor nailed it. Although, of course, they did turn Michael Myers into Jason. It was a good-looking film. The music as well, I guess? Although, to be honest, Carpenter and his team didn't do as good of a job as last time round. There really only was one memorable piece. Halloween Kills starts off okay, and slowly gets progressively worse, and it ends up in a weird place where you're seeing people lining up one by one to brawl with Michael. One guy who thought, after everything he's seen, a baseball bat would do the job. After he himself warns everyone that Michael is an apex predator. A baseball bat which wasn't even his. Some guy told a story about how it ran in the family and then he just ups and takes it. Yup, I'm going to need this. Evil dies tonight. The dialogue was particularly atrocious. What I hated more than anything was characters making philosophical assertions about Michael. Like one part where Laurie is like, he was a man, but he became something more. With each kill, he transcends. Like, why are you explaining your concept of Michael Myers? That's our job. Our part as the film goers to speculate on the nature of Michael Myers. Don't outright tell us. And so many scenes of characters saying, look what Michael has done to us. We've become monsters. Let us come to that conclusion. Don't spell it out. But the dialogue was poor all round. One wanker even looked right at the camera at one point and said, the boogeyman. I mean, I get the idea behind this film. It's Halloween ascending. It's Michael growing into something more. It's no longer one or two people running after him. It's the town getting together and uniting against him. But the execution was poor. The only thing the film really excels at are the kills. But even then, they're not scary. They're just gory and blunt. Things were better when Michael was just a man, like in the last one, where there was only an implication of something more sinister, where he could get hurt, where he used to stalk, hide in the shadows, but now he's an unstoppable Terminator. There just isn't really much tension. It feels like a filler movie, one that knows it's the middle chapter in a trilogy. And it's trying so hard to end, it just rushes and rushes and rushes. Take a look at that scene where somebody actually tells Laurie that Michael didn't come looking for her in the last film, it was the doctor. That should have been a huge moment for her. It should have sparked an existential crisis. She spent decades waiting for his arrival, waiting for him to come to her, and it turns out he doesn't even think about her. That should have been a huge scene, but it was just glossed over. And why have that scene done in a way where somebody just tells her in a hospital bed? You know, they could have done much more with that. They could have had, her coming across Michael and he just stares at her and then walks past or something like that, visual storytelling. But no, she doesn't even come across Michael Myers in this film because she spends most of it in a hospital bed. And perhaps the knowledge that there's going to be another movie affected how good this one could be, because I heard from someone who saw an earlier screening that film was a lot better, like the part where Michael is beaten up and then gets up, being a huge dramatic moment. The confirmation that he is indeed evil incarnate. You can't stop him. But the final film treats this moment as just another day in the office for Michael. Very strange. Overall, it was a relatively ordinary Halloween movie. One that I'll give a 5.5 out of 10.